Today is the day. She has been
And it's not
watching.
Coronation Day.
No, it's not. We're not going to open the windows and the doors. I guess the cheapest thing is to die. But not really, because even in death.
He's talking her out of it with his eyes.
This is honestly like my worst fucking nightmare.
Wow. My brain can't even be original.
And because of that, no army for you. So he decided to go
for
to
Russian wieners.
So here the fuck we are. So, how's your day? Because we all know that you've been up for a very long time.
I read a book. I played on my phone. I exercised. I got dressed.
You did so much more than I did.
I laid in bed like a lazy bum for a long time. A really long time.
Do you think I exercised this morning? No, unless exercise means walked to the bathroom to pee.
I mean, that might be considered an exercise.
I exercised procrastination. Does that also work?
That also counts. I take it. That also counts.
So funny. I exercised
Restraint?
I don't know what I exercise restraint for. My irritation that now I have to be out of my house at 4 o'clock, whatever. Thanks.
What if that was exactly the time we were supposed to meet?
Sucks for me. There's nothing I can do about it. Coffee?
Oh. It looked almost like the what's the brand? It's like an ice cream brand that I buy. But it looked from the back, it looked like, and you had a straw coming out of it. And I was like, what are you drinking? Is that like
Coffee?
melted ice cream?
I wish. To me, it tastes like melted coffee ice cream, and I'm here for it. And then I was eating the jelly thing, which I like them, the jellies, but it's definitely a texture to get used to because I didn't know how to feel about it at first, but I eat them a lot. But no, the coffees, I picked them up yesterday. We went to the Korean market yesterday. It was great.
That's great.
Yeah. So
Yeah, Joey and I were just trying to figure out what to make on Friday because we were like, well, there's no way that we're going to go anywhere. We just want to stay home and veg all day. But it's my birthday, so we want to make sure we're eating good food and just chilling for the day since we have the day off. Not because it's my birthday, but because it's vacation.
Let's be real clear about that.
Yeah. And actually, honestly, usually my birthday falls after vacation, so this is weird
Right.
this
Well,
year.
that's like my
It's
sister's.
abnormal that I have the day off right for my birthday. So
Well,
we're
that's
like,
like
what do
because
we
usually
do?
my sister's birthday is during vacation and it's
Right.
not.
And it's not right. So it's like, what do we do? So we were just trying to go through all these options of what kind of foods would be good. What should we make? And like, we still don't have a plan. Just too many choices. Like, and then we started Googling stuff, and then Joey's like, well, what's shawarma? Should we make some shawarma? And it was a whole thing. Because that came up on an idea list.
Got you. I don't think I've ever had shawarma.
No, it looks good.
Yeah.
But
You know what's really good? A gyro.
is it? Isn't that kind of similar to
It's
shawarma?
a Greek. I think so. It's a Greek wrap with tzatziki sauce.
Yeah.
I fucking
But the
love
shawarma is yogurt instead.
Yeah. Yeah, they're similar. It's different cultures, but yeah.
Right. I think we might just make pizza, like homemade pizza, and just have like all kinds of toppings. I don't know. I don't know what I want. Been trying to kind of stray
Mhm.
away from eating a lot of beef because I think I was eating too much.
Mm, I don't eat enough of it.
Yeah. I'm trying to find that balance where I was like, I
I honestly
wasn't
don't
eating
eat enough of
enough,
yeah.
and then I was overdoing it, and now I think I'm eating too much. So now I'm trying to like scale back a little, and it's like,
Gotcha. I don't think I eat enough meat in general. But that's just because I don't want to cook it. Has nothing to do with me not wanting to eat it. I just don't. I'm lazy. Miss getting chicken. It's fucking stupid expensive. Unless I like, I don't know, slaughter my own chicken, which I'm not gonna do that. That was a bit graphic. Because I like having shredded chicken on top of rice for my breakfast, because then I'm not
mhm.
hungry during the day. And
Yeah,
I need to get back to that. It's just chicken is expensive.
yeah.
So
We're like the
down
flip
here,
side. It's
anyways.
beef is I mean, everything's expensive, but beef is the
Yeah.
more expensive one up
Living
here.
is expensive. I guess the cheapest thing is to die. But not really, because even in death. Anyways, so this week
We didn't die. This
we
week,
didn't
someone
die.
didn't die.
Yeah, but we decided, and we explained it last week, that we are having a little breather between our old wheel and our new wheel. So we're bringing you a couple things. A, this one is unhinged, and that is why I am doing it as a regular episode instead of Ariel doing it as a regular episode. And technically, it's a
Crystal is
novella.
the unhinged queen.
You know what? I'm unhinged in my own life. Might as well be unhinged with my book life too. Solid. And, but we also figured why not? So here the fuck we are.
Hmm.
Yeah. This week we read Forked by Ruth Cardello. And yes, it's about a fork.
Because
And it's a whole
why
series. And it's a
wouldn't
whole
we
series.
bring you
There
a
are more
fork when we
books.
bring
We've
unhinged?
got spooned, we've got knifed, and we've got whatever the fuck the last one is, and I always forget what it is.
Serviced.
Serviced. We only read the first one though. So
Yes.
that's okay. Here we are. So this book opens with Mercedes, and the thing I do love about this book is it does have the people's names on the top of each chapter. And
To the top.
when it goes back in time, it tells you the date and the
Yes.
year right
Yes.
at the top. So you're not
Solid.
confused as to what time period we are in because it does go back and forth to get like a bit
Yeah,
of
a
a
little
back
bit.
because we get the backstory. It's
Hmm.
I liked it. But
Yeah.
Mercedes has decided that today is the day. She has
And
been
it's not
watching.
Coronation Day.
No, it's not. We're not going to open the windows
Wait,
and the doors. We instead, she has been watching this man since she moved in, and he is really attractive. He is tall and lean, and she really wants to talk to him and ask him out on a date. Not that she's been stalking him or anything. So, listen. So she goes to get on the elevator and she sees him and tells him, "Hi, I'm Mercedes." And he responds, "Hi." She tells him, "I don't know if I know you don't know me, but I see you ride your bike on the weekends, bitch." First of all, what? I was thinking that we could go for a ride together sometimes. And he says, "Sure." And she goes, "Oh my God, it's a date then." And he says, "Listen, I'm in the elevator and not alone, so let's bang out the details via email. This man is on the phone."
She
And
finally
I
got up the courage to ask this man out, and
and he's actually on the phone. This is my own personal nightmare, and it feels like if this ever happened to me, I would die. When he finally gets off the phone, he looks at her and says, "I'm sorry, did you say something? I was on a call." And she goes, "No." He goes, "Oh, okay. I just thought you were." And then she blurts out, "I have your mail."
does she have his mail?
No.
No. No, she does not.
And he asks her if she wants to return it to him, and she says, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Yeah, and he's like, "Oh my God, that's so nice. See, this is exactly why I chose a small city." She goes, "Yeah." He introduces himself as Greg and that he can drop by to get it, or she can even just go to his house and drop it off and gives her his apartment number. And she goes, "Yeah, I'll bring it to you." And then she thinks to herself, "Shit, now I actually have to get some of his mail." Later on, she's feeding her cat,
How's
which
she gonna do that?
I don't know. By the way, she's not technically supposed to have a cat. So according to her lease, she has a 25-year-old grad student named Mike living with her.
It's her roommate, duh.
But honestly, she talks to this cat
And
like
yeah,
he's a
she
person.
sets the cat up at a place at the table in a chair with a place setting. Here you go, Mike. Has him all set up with his plate and his silverware and everything. He is her roommate.
Yeah. So, which is just honestly, it's funny, but it also is getting into crazy cat lady territory. I don't know, Ariel. Would you ever do that?
Probably.
Probably. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
She's also a worst case scenario contemplator, and all of this has led to her being a 24-year-old virgin. And she thinks to herself, she conquered her fear of toilets. You know, how fucking difficult could it be to fuck somebody? She's already chosen the person, which is Greg. And she talks to her cat and she tells him, I am so glad I can't understand you. I don't want you to talk me out of this plan.
He's talking her out of it with his eyes. He's a
With his
cat
eyes and his meows and
and
his
his meows.
meows.
Well, even the
Mostly the
ones she
judgmental eyes.
fabricates in her mind, his silent meows.
Funny. On her way to the table, she stops and gets her favorite fork from the dish rack. She has an entire case of silverware, and she never cared much about which utensils she uses, but there's just something super special about this fork. It's old-fashioned and sterling silver, and it's perfectly weighted. Honestly, I can understand the need for perfect silverware because I
Absolutely.
personally have a favorite spoon. Have you seen on
Absolutely.
TikTok the whole I bring this spoon to the community? I do. I have a favorite spoon. I also have a favorite fork.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I
Yeah,
get it.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But there, yes, it just gives her the perfect mouthfeel, all that. But she had gotten the entire case at
An estate sale.
an estate sale, exactly. And you would think they're all the same because it has place settings for, you know, many, but it's just this one. This
Hmm.
one feels better.
Yeah. And prior to owning this, she didn't understand how sterling silver would feel from stainless, but it's heavier and warmer and somehow makes the act of eating something simple like it makes it so indulgent for her because bro, I love my forks as much as the next person, but that does not make me feel fancy. Just saying.
I'm so fancy, but you already.
So she is holding this fork in her hand and she looks at her cat and she goes, and see, this is why I need to have sex with somebody. I am beginning to find inanimate objects sexy. She's like,
Bringing sexy back.
I watched a video once about a guy, about how some guy found his car attractive, like really attractive, and clearly he was mentally ill. Like, I like this fork, but I don't like this fork.
Are you sure
And
about
then
that?
you sure about that? And then she starts telling Mike about her day and how she talked to Greg. And she goes, listen, like it went badly. And he didn't hear me because he was on a call and I didn't notice. So that was painful. And I wish I would have just said something of his that would have been easier to get. Not like I have his fucking mail. Or like I could have said like you shredded it, but then I don't know if I can trust him. And like what if he's allergic to you? And then she just starts tumbling
Because
down a
obviously
fucking
it's a
rabbit hole.
secret about the cat, so she
Well,
can't
because it's
tell
against
anyone
her
about her
lease.
cat.
Yeah.
Right.
And she says, and she just goes down a rabbit hole and she goes, nope, can't do this. I'm not going to overthink myself right into another year of virginity. And then the fork in her hand vibrates. And she's just like, that's weird. And then she sets it down
No.
and it's still vibrating. And she goes, what? Like, is there like an earthquake going on? Because nothing in this room except for the fork is vibrating. And then Mike whips the fork away from her off of the table onto the floor because this cat knows what's going on. And so she ducks down under the table to get the fork, but she doesn't see it. But all of a sudden, she does see shiny shoes. And she's thinking, am I being robbed?
Yes.
What the
Yes.
hell is happening? The
With
fork,
shiny
nowhere to
shoes.
be. Yeah. The fork, nowhere to be found. And slowly she shifts so she can look up over the table and she thinks she must have really hit her head fucking hard because what the actual fuck? There's a man standing there and he just says, "You're not at all how I imagined you." And she goes, "Really? Brain damage can produce a gorgeous man, but not one who's attracted to me," which is insane.
I want to know how he imagined her, truly, though.
I do it too. And he asks her if she's hurt because obviously she hit her head. And she's thinking, God, his voice is so sexy. But honestly, she doesn't believe that he is real. She's pretty sure that she's dead and that he is there to guide her to the light. And I mean, she's not going in the other direction. She's definitely sure of that. She does not sin. Well,
Mm.
she
She
doesn't do
didn't
enough
steal
of
the mail
anything.
yet.
Right.
She just thought about it.
And I
Surely
mean, sure.
thoughts shouldn't be enough to send her there.
No, listen. As Taylor Swift says, okay, only your actions count. There's nothing wrong with bad thoughts. Only your actions count. That's such a great song. Anyways, only your actions stuck. Anyways, sure. She also lied today. Whatever. It's fine. And again,
Just
like
a
Ariel said, she
teeny
was
one.
plotting to steal. And she goes, "Okay, so if I'm not dead, I have got to be unconscious. Like, I can deal with that." He asks her what year it is, and she lets him know that it's 2024. And he is asking questions about World War II. So then we get a chapter in Hugh's point of view from 1945. And, they've won the war over Germany. Well, Germany's at least surrendered at this point. And what I did like about this is we get the cool little like backstory with him and going over all his time period of stuff of being with the war and blah, all that other stuff. Blah, 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 blah. He is sitting at a restaurant. It's an award ceremony with a bunch of other people in his specific group, and they're talking about if this is really the end. Do you think they're gonna let them celebrate? And they just are overall looking forward to things that would happen post-war. And as they're at this dinner, an eerie calm kind of sets over, and then a lightning strikes.
Well, because they even make hints that, he's in this specialized unit that
Mm-hmm.
they're only at this dinner to recognize their own because they wouldn't actually be recognized by the military because they're not technically on paper in the military.
Yeah,
And they did a lot to help for this, so that's why they're being recognized. But
yeah. And then a lightning strikes across. That's my lightning. And the unit rises to their feet, and one of the dudes says like something of an apology, and then a flashing light blinds him, and then there's nothing. And then we get Hugh, current day, and he's just like he doesn't remember anything from that flash until the first time he felt Mercedes's touch. And sometimes it was
for the
warm
very
and
first
comforting.
time.
Well, she is like a virgin because she is a virgin. And it was hot and wet, which is okay. And the scent and taste of her always filled his senses as if he were like if they were one, which is crazy. He thinks to himself, what happened back in London? Like, he's trying to think, like, what happened back in London? Where is the rest of my unit? Why am I currently in Rhode Island? And he looks at Mercedes and says, "Come here. I need to know." And then he kisses her. And I was like,
Because there
okay.
was this one time where she
Yep.
licked the fork from bottom to top, and he remembers that
Bitch.
vividly.
Yeah. And she's thinking, like, so that just happened. I just kissed a figment of my imagination and I liked it. I really liked it. And
I kissed.
Mike meows at her from the tabletop and she just goes, "Listen, if I'm not dead and I'm not unconscious, then this is a mental breakdown." And she goes to look stuff up on her phone and he's asking her questions like, "What is that?" Because obviously he hasn't seen a cell phone. And she's explaining to him it's a phone. And she's like, "And I would explain everything to you, but right now I really need to focus on how to stop being able to hear and see you." She learns that he is 25 years old and he was born in 1920. She tells him that September 2nd, 1945 is when the war ended, and it ended with the dropping of two atomic bombs. And he's like, well, we were trying to prevent that from happening. She's basically just trying to show him the past, like on the phone. And he's asking her to look up Project Inkwell. And there is nothing on the internet about it.
She's like,
And
that sounds familiar.
yep. But there's stuff about the Manhattan Project, the atomic bomb testing, but there's nothing. And he tries to even look up his name and some of the other people in his unit because he just wants to know where everyone else is. And she goes, listen, honestly, I'm still just trying to figure out if you're real. And he looms over her and takes one of her hands in his and says, I know your hand. I know your mouth, the taste of you, the feel of you. I crave it. But why? And she goes, I must be asleep on the couch. This is literally still just a dream. Thankfully, I live alone, so no one's going to judge me if I wake up humping one of the couch cushions. And well, I bet you Mike the cat would judge her, okay?
He's
Mike
already
the cat
judging
is
her.
he is a judgy, he's a judgy
He's a judgy bitch.
person. Yep. He asks how he got there, and she goes, I don't know. You just appeared. She says, I was
Oh.
eating and my fork started vibrating and I thought it was an earthquake. So I dropped the fork and then Mike threw it on the floor and I was looking for it. And then I saw you. And he goes, I don't see a fork. And she goes, it's there somewhere. You know, who doesn't magically disappear. Well, bitch, it does. He goes, no. But yesterday, did you lick the entire length of the fork? And she goes, no. But like, would you punish me if I did?
It's her fantasy. She can go with it.
Listen, she admits that yes, she did lick the handle of the fork. She was using it to eat ice cream, which by the way, fucking why would you use a fork to eat ice cream? But that's a whole other thing. Whatever. She does say she knows she could have used a spoon, but there's just something about the fork and everything tastes better on it. Bitch, do not eat ice cream with a fork. That's weird to me personally.
Yeah. Well,
But
apparently
okay.
that fork just feels so good in her mouth.
Yeah.
Makes it
Yep.
worth it, apparently.
He asks her where she got the fork from, and she explains she got it from an estate sale, and he asks her to show it to him. And on the brass label of the cutlery box thing, it says Inkwell. Weird, guys. What do you think? Why? And that this was the silverware that was used at the awards ceremony, which was the final place that he was at before everything disappeared. And he says, I don't understand how this happened or if anyone else survived, but I will find out. And you're going to help me. Then we time travel back to 1941.
Just
And
like that.
Hugh is answering, yeah, just like that. And Hugh is answering a flyer that is looking for help. So originally he could not qualify in the military because he is missing a finger because he decided to cut down a tree as a kid and he lost his finger. And because of that, you know, no army for you. So he decided to go
For Russian
to,
wieners.
yeah. Oh man. So he decided to go to this top secret operation. And the guy tells him, listen, I can't tell you much until after you've signed on, but it is dangerous and not everyone will come home. But he really just wanted to do something. 4 months later, he is sitting in this museum on the outskirts of London with people that he calls friends. A good amount of people had died immediately after the first injection, but they all went really quickly. Other people had really good results from the injections. Their bodies healed, regenerated, but then there were also people who started to deteriorate. Basically, it's Captain America and Winter Soldier.
But for reals.
So that's what it
She
is.
even says that too, as he's
She
like
does.
telling
Yeah.
a story.
Mhm.
It's like, wow, my brain can't even be original.
This is Captain America.
Like, I'm gonna have a fantasy and I can't even just make my own.
Yeah. They exchange actual names, like their names, and she asks him what branch of the military he was in, and he tells her he was never officially enlisted. So because his outfit, he's got the medals on it, and their medals are just there for distraction. They're not like real. And he tells her that he needs her help to find out exactly what happened in London. She thinks to herself, "Oh my God, why is this so complicated?" But she goes, I get it. Like, this is my subconscious sabotaging my plan because I'd rather have a mental breakdown than risk being turned down by Greg. Well, joke's on you. I'm going to steal his mail and go upstairs to see him. Hugh asks if there's a possibility that he's there to help her find confidence, kind of like a guardian angel. He asks who Greg is, and she says he is the second most attractive man that I have ever met. Clearly, because this man is the first attractive man she's ever met. Should be a sign, bitch. Sorry. And
Obviously, her subconscious came up with him.
I know. She's like, and I've been trying to get him to notice me. He goes, dressed like that. She goes, rude. And he goes, sorry. My sense of fashion is likely outdated, but he tells her that if she wore a dress, she could easily catch Greg's attention because she's not bad looking. And she goes, listen, you're horrible at giving compliments. Second, I don't wear dresses because I feel ridiculous in them. And honestly, I personally didn't wear dresses for a very long time myself. Me, Crystal, not her, Mercedes. just to just to clarify here. I do wear them now though. He tells her that he will help her get her man if she helps him find his friends that were with him at the awards ceremony in
What a
1945.
mighty good man.
And
He is.
something happened and he needs to know what. We get another flashback and it's just more of him with his group of people, and out of over 50 men, there are only 14 of them left. So that sucks. Sorry. Mercedes asks him, what do you want to do now? And he gets a little bit of interest in his eyes. And she goes, why aren't you Greg? I mean, like, you're hot and everything, but I am not into military men. You're like a German Shepherd guy when my preference is a golden
She's
retriever.
just wondering why her subconscious didn't create Greg for her as a dream.
She's like, I've been spent months thinking about this man. And Hugh says, have you ever considered that this might not be a dream? And she goes, listen, the alternative is that I've been so lonely lately that my mind created an imaginary friend. I don't want this to be true. I love the fact that she just continuously tries to convince herself that all of this is fake. And honestly, I think that I would as well if this was the situation that I was thrown into. But they decide that they're going to sit down and watch a movie. And he asks if he can get more comfortable. Yes, he can. He unties his shoes and he asks her if it's okay if he takes off a few things. And God, he is so hot. So this is turning her on a little bit. She ends up putting a movie on that I don't actually know what movie it is, but it is a Sandra Bullock movie and they talk about it. When the movie's finally over, she wants to still stay by his side and asks if he's hungry. And she says, I have leftovers from yesterday if he wants them, which is a sandwich or a pickle, which that is
Choice.
not a lot of food. He flirts with her a little bit and she doesn't really respond well to it. And I don't know if she's just super dense or if she's just really into the this is not real thing. He asked if flirting has fallen out of fashion and she doesn't know. She's like, I don't know. Like, I'm very good at flirting. And he goes, okay, then you try. How how would you catch my attention? And she goes, I trip you. Girl, this is why. This is why. And he goes, listen, if all modern women are as funny as you, like landing in the future might not have been such a bad thing. She doesn't answer back, and she just like slowly is getting more and more frustrated. And he asks her what's wrong, and she just looks at him and says, like, I'm just trying to make sense of this dream. I don't get it. I don't understand what you're doing here. Why am I torturing myself with you? And where is my favorite fork? Hugh takes a step towards her, and then Mike sneak attacks his legs. And like she apologizes, but he says, I know what his problem is. He knows that I was the fork. And she goes, I'm sorry, you were what? And he goes, your favorite fork. I can't explain how or why. I was in the silverware, but it's why we don't feel like strangers. And I know the taste of you. I've been in your mouth so many times, which,
Bro.
yikes. You've held me, you've washed me. She is truly not believing this, but she's also like, what the actual fuck? She goes, so you were part of like a government secret super soldier program? And he goes, yeah, I was. And she's like, what? Oh my God. This, and as Ariel said, like, she's like, this is literally Captain America. I personally, I feel he's more on the Winter Soldier side, but that's besides the point. Anyways, I get it. So she decides she needs to get rid of him. So she just closes her eyes and says, please go away. She's like, when I count to 10 and I open my eyes again, you're gonna be gone. And he's like, I'm still here. Open your eyes. I'm literally not going anywhere. And I need your help. And he really, really, again, needs to find out what happened to the rest of his people. And if there's more work that they need to do. But she's thinking, like, dude, she moved to a new city for a fresh start. She is like 99% the person she's always been. Maybe like this could be her origin story. Girl, this is not how you do it for the plot. Of course, she says this out loud, and he says, I don't know what that means, but sure. It can be a story, the one where you solve a puzzle and get the guy, which is the upstairs lover boy. And he realizes that she is attracted to him, and but there's so much temptation to sleep with her, but he can't do that. And he carries her off to the bedroom. And when they're snuggling, she does feel his dick on her. She does feel it, but like he tells her like it's not that I don't find you attractive. It just wouldn't be safe for you. He is so strong, maybe a little too strong, and explains that most of them were really afraid to have
Okay,
sex
buddy.
after. I know. He explains most of them were really afraid to have sex after their treatments because they didn't want to hurt anybody. And they were going to wait until they knew a woman could survive it, which wild. He also explains that he can regrow limbs, by the way. He could die because she's like, well, does that mean you can't die? He goes, well, no, I'm not invincible. Like it took time for the finger to grow back, but like they can do that. And she goes, you know what? All right.
As long as the direct hit isn't
Yeah,
mortal on him, right?
right. She goes, you know what? All right, let's do this. Let's find out what happened to your unit. We'll start with my computer and we'll try to research some stuff. They do try and they talk with AI, but they don't really get too many answers out of the AI. But all of the causes of death for him and the people in his unit are all the same, and each of their causes of death left their body so damaged that they can't be identified. So that's sketchy. When Mercedes awakens the next day, she is smiling and trying to relive her favorite parts of her dream. And then she realizes that it is not a dream because he is still there and they are currently snuggled up together. And listen, she reads her fair share of romances. She knows where this could go with very little effort because he's got his legs swung over her and his dick pressed up against her, and all she has to do is slide her hand down between them. But then she remembers that he said that sex with him might hurt, and not in the way that a hero in a romance tells a virgin, like that he's afraid of her discomfort. No, like he believed that this would be like a super soldier fucking that no one in his unit was sure a woman could survive. So maybe she shouldn't touch his dick. I mean, honestly, I personally would be super curious about it. Come on,
Of course you would.
please. I mean, I guess it gives a whole new meaning to blow your back out. He asked her if they could go to whatever place she found to look at documents. So there's a library that when they were researching that maybe they could go there and look up more stuff to try to get any more information about Inkwell. And she says, okay, but not with you dressed that way. He needs more modern clothes. And he tells her that he does not have any money. And she goes, well, that makes you no different than the last two men who asked me out. And he goes, I'm just starting to lose confidence in your ability to choose a good man for yourself. I may not approve of Loverboy upstairs. And she says, if he's not up to your standards, what would you do? Fork him up? I do love that when she starts just continuously making fork puns all the time. It was quite actually funny. He tells her that as long as she lets him choose clothing for her, that he will let her buy him clothing. He really wants to see her in a dress. Then he kisses the line of her jaw and she says, you said that was dangerous. And he goes, you should stop looking at me like you want this. And she says, like what? And he just goes, like you want me. And he goes, ugh, I want you. And she goes, fork me. And girl, why? But they stop. And she goes and takes a shower and gets ready. And then they're going to go leave to go get clothing and also go to the library. He's thinking that the future is surprisingly really not that different from his times. Sure, some things have changed, but realistically, not that big of a difference. He does ask Mercedes if he could drive her car back. And she goes, no, you need a license to drive. And he's realizing that also in this time, a lot of laws have changed. They do get him some new clothes, and she even tries on some clothes as well. And she ends up getting a dress. It's cute. It's a little pink dress. They go grocery shopping so that they can make dinner, and she asks him his favorite food so that she can have them ready. And she goes, "Were you really joking about being my favorite fork?" And he goes, "No." She goes, "Do you think your friends might be stuck in the other silverware?"
Because
And
now
he
she's
goes,
afraid to use the rest of the silverware.
"I would be too." And he goes, "I'm hoping they are." And she goes, "Okay, well, we should use plastic utensils then until we really know for sure." She's wondering though if he is upset because they didn't find any new information from the library, but he doesn't say anything. As they're walking into the building, Hugh goes up to the female postal worker and asks her if she has anything for apartment 414. By the way, this is Greg's apartment. This man ends up getting the mail for Greg, and he says, "You wanted his mail? I got you his mail," because he flirted with the postal worker, and it's very funny. As the elevator opens up to her floor, Greg is at her door. And he goes, "Hey, I was just coming by to see if you have any mail." Does he know what apartment she's in?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't think she told him what apartment she was in. I know he told her what apartment he was in, but I didn't think he knew what her apartment was.
I think he just knows from them being seeing her around the building
Got you. Okay.
because of like a
Well,
couple of
maybe
his
he's
comments
stalking
later.
her a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and Hugh kind of growls a little bit behind her, and it's confusing her. And she hands Greg the mail that she literally just got from Hugh, and he says, "Hey." Greg turns around and sees Hugh. "Oh, we haven't met, but I heard there was a man living with Mercedes. Nice to finally meet you. I'm Greg." And it's because she talks about her cat, Mike, being a human. And so she introduces him as Mike. Greg asks if the two of them are a thing, and Hugh says, "If you're asking if she's single, she is completely single," and then excuses himself and says that he needs to go get some fresh air.
This is very grumpily.
Yes. Hugh ends up several blocks away from Mercedes' house before he finally slows down, and he does not understand why he is feeling jealous because they aren't anything. And as he's walking around, he runs into a woman at the side of a bar who's having a creepy man following her and scaring the literal shit out of this poor woman. And this dude's got friends too. And so he ends up beating the shit out of all of these men. And the lady offers him her number, but he says, "I'm already taken." Then another man approaches him and tells him, "Hey, if you're interested in money, my boss runs a fight club." And he's thinking that he really wants to pay Mercedes back. So why not? When he's done, he's a little bit short on the money that they promised him. And the guy tells him, "Don't worry, we take care of our own. And my boss likes you." And he goes, "Pay me what you owe me, and I'll be on my way." And the man tells him he is not going anywhere, that he works for them now. And he goes, "I don't work for anybody, and I will give you one final chance to pay me before I break a few of your bones. Give me the money." The man nods for his other men to come into the room, and he was like, "Ah, all right, fuck, I guess this is what we're doing." And he puts his money in his back pocket, and then he literally beats the shit out of all of these men, which is great. The guy finally at the end says, "Look, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse." And he goes, "There is no such offer. I'm not angry, but I'm leaving." As he heads back to Mercedes, he's a little conflicted because now he's thinking like there was times when he was a good guy, but now he just doesn't know who he is. Mercedes is sitting alone in her apartment, and she's like, "Hi, I'm not good under pressure, and like I didn't actually see Hugh change from a utensil into a man. Like people people can even see him. Greg could see him, so he's not a figment of my imagination. If I was sleeping, I think I would have woken up by now." I love the fact that she is still partially in denial that he is a real person. She glances down at herself in the pink dress and she goes, "Look, I'm not changing for him. People should stay true to who they are. But let's face it, I wasn't even trying to look good anymore." Back at home, Mercedes just like she's just sitting alone and she's thinking, "Oh, I don't know why. I already have that. Why did I repeat that? I bet you when I did my notes, it repeated everything." Solid. Uno momento.
That's
Da-da,
okay. I
da-da.
need a minute anyways. I think I'm having an allergic reaction to something. I think that's what's going on with my
Oh,
face.
okay.
I don't know what I'm
Yeah, your whole body is red.
and I'm getting hives, so I'm gonna need to go take some meds. Sorry.
I didn't know how long it was going to take, so I wanted to pause
I
it.
just went to take a
I was gonna
Benadryl.
keep going, but you left your mic on, so I was like, I'll just
Sorry.
stop. No, 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 you're fine. And she's just starting to think, fine, if I want to have sex with a man who believes he was with World War II before he accidentally transformed into a fork, I am going to. She is determined that she is going to have sex with Hugh, but she doesn't have condoms or literally anything. So she needs to leave and go. And she even tells Mike, you are going to have to find another woman so because I cannot have you in here when I'm losing my virginity. So she opens the door to leave to go get condoms. And when she opens it, Greg is there with a bunch of flowers. She takes them, walks back into her apartment, and Greg follows her into the apartment, which, by the way, to me, weird. Why is this man following her into her apartment? I'm just saying, it was weird. He looks at the inkwell box and says, "Oh, cool
Well, they were
silverware." Like,
talking, but
I
yeah,
know, but still, if you don't
yeah.
invite this person into your house, this person does not go into your house.
I understand that. Men typically don't understand that, but
I guess that's true. He goes, "Oh, cool silverware, like real silver." And she goes, "Please don't touch. Like, listen, thank you for the flowers, but I was heading out." And he goes, "I hope I didn't make you uncomfortable. It's obvious I read the situation wrong. Mike said that you were single." And she says, "I will tell Mike that the flowers were for both of us." And yeah. As she steps out, she sees a woman approaching and introduces herself. Her name is Desiree from the third floor. And she says, "Look, if you'd ever like to go for a jog, because why? Knock on my door." She's just trying to make friends, but then later on she goes, "Why did I recommend a jog? Like she doesn't jog." When Hugh gets
why
back
did
to
she
the
say she stole mail?
I you know
This she
what?
has,
Fair enough.
yeah.
Yeah. When Hugh gets back to the apartment, Mercedes isn't there, and he sees the dining room table set for two with wine glasses. Mercedes isn't there, but there's flowers, and the flowers have Greg's name and phone number on them. And he gets a little jealous, and yikes. And he's thinking like, would she have gone with him if I like had stayed? And he hasn't discovered a fucking useful thing about what happened to everybody. And his thoughts are returning to the award ceremony, but there has to be something. And his thoughts keep spiraling. And he just says, "I thought I was a hero, but in reality, I was most useful as a fork." And that is the last thought he has. And he gets turned back into a fork, guys. When Mercedes comes back from the store, she's thinking she needs to calm down and that she shouldn't have told the cashier at the pharmacy that the reason she purchased so many different types of condoms was because she didn't know what kind he would like. But it all just kind of spilled out. Also, why did she buy glow in the dark condoms? She doesn't know. Uh, but and she calls out for Hugh, but she doesn't see him. And she decides to take an everything shower, which I fully understand an everything shower. But he still doesn't show up. And she's thinking, what the actual fuck? Where could he have gone? And then she sees a pile of cash and she goes, "Oh, maybe he went to the bank because he like left her some money. So where the fuck did he get the money?" But time just keeps going on and the meal that she made starts to get cold. And she decides that, okay, when I wake up, he'll be here. He'll return. But 2 months go past and he hasn't returned. And she has been going running with Desiree every morning. And honestly, meeting her was really great for her because now she just has some healthy habits. After
And a
two
friend.
weeks and a friend, yeah. After meeting her, she introduces Desiree to Mike and confesses that the people in the building thought he was a 25-year-old grad student, and Desiree just snuggles him. Desiree knows about her prior crush on Greg, and she had even mentioned Hugh to her and how the two of them met, though there's a lot she does not tell her because obviously, duh, this is crazy. But she's also thinking to herself, like, where the fuck did he go? While Desiree's in her house, she asks if the silver set belonged to her parents, and she just goes, "No, I bought it at an estate sale." And she says, "You'll probably think I'm crazy, but like there's one fork in that set that I used all the time, and I'm kind of sad I lost it because she still doesn't have that fork." Desiree has a spoon in her hand, and Mike climbs up her leg and drops the spoon that Desiree has and then swats it under the fridge. Desiree gets on her hands and knees and ends up finding the spoon as well as the fork. Mercedes is like, "I didn't think I would ever see this again." And Desiree says sometimes the things we think are lost are just merely hidden from us until we're meant to have them again. Then she is ready to go for a jog. And Mercedes asks, Desiree, if she's crazy, if she takes the fork with them on this jog. And she goes, listen, crazy is a term used for those who choose to limit themselves. Don't ask anyone for permission. Just do what makes you happy. Desiree, I love you, sweetheart. But no. By the way, she does take the fork with her. Later on in the day, she showers and changes into the pink dress that she had bought with Hugh. And normally she feels silly that she still has it, but she still kind of hopes that he'll come back. She is pacing around her house and she sees that her favorite fork is still sitting beside the sink where she left it. She picks it up and notices for the first time the imperfection on the back of the handle, and it's a line. It's basically Hugh's scar. And she kind of looks at all the other silverware and realizes that they all have the same thing. They all have little imperfections. She sends a text to Greg and asks him if him and his crew are up for helping her research something. And then they're in a Discord chat and they're trying to really pick the brains about Project Inkwell, and no one can find anything. And she kind of lies and says that an uncle told her kind of about it. So she shares everything she can remember about Hugh, and she's really trying. And time just keeps passing, and she thinks, listen, I bought old silverware. I met a man who thought he was from the past and claimed to be trapped in a fork. Like, my life has improved, and all of these events seem to be related. Twirling the fork in front of her face, she's just thinking, like, she's not a princess. She's just a regular woman with a slightly toxic relationship with her parents. And if Hugh had stuck around, you would have discovered that I'd be the perfect romantic partner for a super soldier. We could have been a team. And then she thinks about the fact that imagine um, if he's this fork again, and not just like any fork, but my favorite one. And the salad, ugh, tastes so good. But the fork brings her mouth to life, and she decides to lick the entire length of the fork again. And she can blame it on the fact that she is in her sexual prime with an embarrassing lack of experience, but she is so turned on that she decides um to pull down her shorts and touches herself. And she's got the fork in one hand and her fingers are on her clit on the other, and she's imagining Hugh's head between her legs. And then the fork starts to move in her hand, and she decides, well, I'm gonna bring the fork to my clit. And it's warm and it's hard, and it's like a little jackhammer against her clit, and it feels really good. And then she spreads her legs wider, and then yep, she just orgasms with a fork. And she goes, listen, I just fucked myself with a fork, and I don't hate it. And then all of a sudden, two strong hands are on her knees. It's Hugh. And then he eats her out. After she's done, she goes, I don't understand. And he says, I don't either.
No one understands.
I don't understand. But he's like, but I was gone again and I didn't think there was a way back. But then you were there, and they say they've missed each other. He asked how long he was gone, and she says months. And she asked why he left. And he said he was just jealous and stupid and angry because of Greg. And he asks if she fucked him, and she says no. And he goes, why? And she goes, because he wasn't you. Oh, sorry. Then they kiss, and she tells him that she doesn't want to do this halfway and not to leave her again. He says, if I ever do, you know how to bring me back. Just put any part of me inside of any part of you. And that seems to be the magic. And then they fuck, and they fuck really, really hard. And then he pulls out of her and comes in her mouth. And when they're finally done, she asks where he went. And he goes, Mercedes, I was a fork again. She asks if they really need to talk about this right now. He says, we do. Please don't put walls between us. Tell me the truth. If you don't believe what I've told you, like, please tell me. Like, what the fuck? And she says, whatever. The truth is, we'll work on with it. Girl, he was a fork. And they kind of go back and forth about it a little bit. And he says, listen, if I try to prove to you that I really am sometimes a fork, will you promise me something? And she goes, anything. He goes, if you have to fuck me again to bring me back, do it, no matter what form I am in. And then he turns himself into a fork. And then she literally does whatever she can to bring him back, which is rubbing the handle over her clit again. Because when he comes back later on, she goes, Hugh, you're a fork. Which, and then she goes, like, everything you said is true, like super soldiers, and like, I am going to find out what happened to you and your friends. She's sure that Greg and his friends are going to help. But by the way, they're just friends. Like, she has to make sure she reiterates that they are just friends. Hugh tells her that he should have just
Wouldn't
waited
want
and
the
asked
fork
her.
jealous.
I know, right? He should have
He
just
might get his
waited.
friend knife and spoon to come.
He tells her that he should have just waited and asked her about the flowers instead of being upset. And she says, look, we were still just getting to know each other. I'm still adjusting to you being both real and a fork. And he goes, why are you willing to be with me if you thought I was delusional? She says, when you say it like that, that sounds bad. Like, I was always a little odd. No one like you ever gave me a second look. I moved away from everything and everyone. I knew because I had hoped that I'd be different if my location was, but well, all that had changed was her zip code. Like nothing else in her life had changed. But she still doesn't understand what happened to him and why did the government do this? But she is super good at gathering resources and he deserves better. She just knows that she is falling in love with a fork. But she also just really wants to help him. He wakes up with Mike on his chest and he tells the cat, I know it was you who shoved me under the refrigerator. I care about her a lot and I wish that we met under better circumstances. So glare at me all you want, but I am here for as long as she will have me. He makes a pot of coffee and a large stack of pancakes and sets a table for two, and they're just nice and domestic. And she learns where he's originally from and also asks where he had gotten the money. And he explains he got into a cage fight, but she tells him, listen, you're going to be okay. I'm going to help you. Weeks later, Mercedes is still trying to concentrate on her work emails, and Hugh is sitting beside her on the couch and he's researching auctions. So we learned that his dad was a coin collector and he had asked his sister to like bury the coins so that he could go back for them later. That's what they did. He's on auction sites to try to sell them for money. You're welcome. They opened a bank account together with his name, and his name is now Hugh Michael Wilson, which is like his middle name's for the cat. His last name is for his dad or grandfather, one of the two. And while he is not perfect, that's okay. But after 2 weeks together, Hugh decided that he should meet her parents. She suggested that they wait until he is in full control over when he changes into a fork, because while her parents are open minded, she doesn't want to explain that side of their relationship with him. Arguing with him would also be easier if he could change himself back, because sometimes when they get into arguments, he changes into a fork. But he also really milks that he can't revert back until
Yeah,
she's
he does it
intimate
on
with him.
purpose
Yeah.
to like dissolve the argument. So she has
Yeah.
to.
Do dirty things to him as a fork.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also learn like different parts of him stretch thanks to the super soldier serum, like his tongue. She got over the feeling of being awkward about loving a fork, and although she doesn't want to be intimate with any other silverware, she did offer to do whatever was necessary to free his friends, and he said that they would find another way, which duh. Then Hugh just kind of asks her to marry him
I
if
actually
she.
didn't think that that was a duh. I figured that that's where the other books were going. I didn't realize they were going to bring in other
I
people
honestly, I
until the girl came. Yeah, that was the whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. Then she thinks to herself, so he asks her to marry him, and she thinks to herself, and out loud, can we have children? Would that be safe? Like, would I be birthing cutlery?
She'd be birthing sporks.
The question takes him by surprise, and he goes, listen, if so, I hope we have a spoon. Her phone is ringing, and it's Cheryl, which is just another friend, and she's researching into Inkwell. And she had asked if her uncle was still alive because she has some leads that she'd like to follow up with, but she wants to have more information. And Hugh says, listen, if it helps my friends, I'll tell her whatever I know. Mercedes says, I told her it was my uncle who told me about Inkwell. Who do I say you are? And he goes, we might have to be honest with her. And she's like, how honest? He goes, is she single? And Mercedes is like, why? He goes, it's not for me, but if she doesn't have a man in her life and is open-minded, you could lend her a spoon. And that is how the book ends.
And the next book is called Spooned.
Yes, it is. I just
Wild.
honestly, it's not as unhinged as I thought it was going to be.
No,
And that is saying
no.
something because I was fully expecting, you know what I was more expecting? Like similar to the Peeps one that we did,
Yeah.
that kind of
And I was
unhinged.
also expecting more sex,
I was
like
too.
that's saying something, but
But I
yeah.
also like I was like thoroughly here for the story. I was like sitting here like I was kind of
Yeah.
okay, sounds
Yeah.
good.
Not necessarily like mad about any of that. I was just,
Right.
that's what I
No, but
expected.
I was
Yeah.
right, I was too. So, with that,
Who was your least favorite character?
Least favorite, honestly, Greg.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who just walks into someone's house? He was definitely stalking her.
Yeah. Like he knew all about her roommate and everything. It just, and then pretended I think he pretended to be on the phone.
I think so too. I really do.
Yeah,
Maybe he was just as creepy as she was.
maybe.
They were stalking each other. That would have been an interesting story.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite?
Probably the cat.
Dude, same. I was gonna say that. Oh, Mike.
Oh, Mike.
Mike. Mike the
Mike, Mike,
cat.
Mike, 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 Mike.
I just love the fact that he has such a human name for a cat.
And he clearly has high opinions.
Cats are notoriously super picky about people, and you
Mm-hmm.
should know this.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
cat fucking swapped me in the face. I got too close. I got too close to the sun. It's okay. Awesome. So, Amazon gives us a 4.1 and Goodreads a 3.6. How
What
about
did you rate this?
I was torn, honestly, between a 3.5 and a 4 because I personally had a fantastic time.
I had a great time too. My initial gut reaction was to rate it a 4. And then just talking about it, I was sitting here and I'm like, oh, maybe it's more of a 3.5. But like, because we were sitting here talking about it.
Hmm.
And so it's funny that you say that because like my initial gut reaction of like
Was a
I didn't
4.
have to timeline it, we didn't talk about it, like was oh, I had a great time. It was a 4, you know. But then like talking it out, I'm like, oh, well, maybe.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, I don't know.
I enjoyed it and I personally will probably read the other books.
I probably will too. I think I'm
I
gonna
want
go
to know
with
where
a
this story goes.
3.75,
Okay, there we go.
even though
Okay.
I don't like to do those if I can help it, but just
Right.
because,
I understand. Yeah. No,
environment.
I get it. Yeah. That's so funny. As far as puppers go,
So for me, I'm gonna say Poblano. It
so that
wasn't
was
what
going to
I
be mine
thought.
as well. So I'm going to say poblano as well. I'm curious if the further along with the books we go, if the more spice happens, because
Yeah.
sometimes that does happen.
Yeah.
Um, the fact that she got herself off of the fork though was wild to me, but okay. But I'm gonna go poblano as well because it wasn't super crazy. There wasn't a lot in there. It was more story and backstory heavy than anything, which
Right.
don't get me wrong, I
Was
love. And
right. It was
considering
interesting.
and considering how this was less than 200 pages and
Hmm.
they shoved so much in here, but it didn't feel like it was overwhelming. Like I was intrigued with the story. I wasn't like, okay, well, like that's too much information. I felt that the pacing was really good, but yeah, there wasn't as much spice as we thought there was going to be, which is still fine.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, survivability. That'd be great.
I think I'd be just fine.
I don't think I would go through the amount of mental turmoil that she was going through. I
I,
probably would have just accepted it. Honestly, though, that goes back to how fucked we are and how many of these we have read, in the fact that I would just accept the fact that he was a fork, I guess.
yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't use the fork on myself, though. That's a little weird.
Yeah. Maybe a spoon, but not a
Because
fork.
there's less tines. There's not so
Yes.
much.
Yeah. Put the spoon in the freezer and, that cold, just.
Yeah. And it vibrates a little bit, so I guess there's that.
Oh my. Okay. A whole new window sometimes here. Well,
So I think we found something new Ariel likes, huh? I'm just fucking with you.
that's not new. No. So, no.
This is new information for everybody else.
No. So, like Crystal said, we are kind of doing this little in between, mostly because we don't have our shit together. We were actually supposed to get together to talk about books today, but we don't even have our genres picked. So, We were supposed to do that all week, and that didn't work so well. So next week, we are diving into the second book in our apocalyptic romance that we started at the beginning of the year. And we had read Ensnared previously, and you guys asked us, or some of you did, to read the second book, and we wanted to read the second book. So next week we will be reading Entangled, which is book 2 of Brutes of Bristlebrook. And yeah, we left off on a cliffhanger. We left off with our female main character being kidnapped. So we got to see where this is going. Bristlebrook is up in smoke. My brutes are dead, and Sam's camp is a powder keg begging for a flame. Injured and furious over their losses, the surviving hunters are preoccupied with their own problems, their factions and allegiances, their internal wars and pissing contests, the new world they want to forge. They don't look twice at their meek little captive. They shattered my hearts 5 ways when they killed my brutes, so I don't care anymore. If I'm going to stop the villains, I need to become one. I need to be smart. I need to be ruthless, even if it means raising myself to the ground to do it. So, and then we get the flip side because remember, she left seeing them shot and bleeding and unmoving on the ground. So she thinks they're dead as she was being kidnapped. We know as readers that the men survived, but she was taken. So their point of view. They took our librarian from right under our noses. And with Lucky injured, Bristlebrook in flames, and our personal problems finally spilling over, we are fracturing. We need to be better. Bringing Eden home is the most important mission of our lives, followed closely by the second most important, building her a home worth returning to. So, we're finally getting to book 2.
Yay!
So join us next week as we dive in. And make sure to keep reading.
And keep it smutty. This week, it shouldn't be so funny.
It's a little funny.
Oh, hold on. I just forgot who it was by.
Ruth Cardello.
Thank you. This week we read Forked by Ruth Cardello. Cardello. Whatever. Just kidding. Anyways. And sure. Present day Mercedes is oh my god, what just fucking that? Woo! It's all that caffeine I've had today. That sorry, not Greg, but obvious Hugh.
What a man, what a man, what a man, what a mighty good man.
She does feel his little dick on her. Not little dick, I don't know why I called it a little dick. She does feel it, but like, and she's just starting to think, fine, if I want to have sex with a man who believes he
Oh, fuck.
oh fuck.